The ICO helps you meet your information rights obligations, keeping personal information private and being open with public information. This presentation is targeted towards good practice for schools. The Data Protection Principles. The Data Protection Act says that personal information must be processed fairly and lawfully, obtained only for lawful purposes, and not further used in any manner incompatible with those original purposes, adequate, relevant, and not excessive, accurate, and, where necessary, kept up to date, not kept for longer than necessary, processed in line with the rights of data subjects under the Data Protection Act, kept secure, and not transferred to countries outside the European Economic Area without adequate protection. The data protection principles apply to all information held electronically or in paper files that tell you something about an identifiable, living individual. The principles also extend to all information in pupil and staff records. That could be names of staff and pupils, dates of birth, addresses, national insurance numbers, medical information, school marks, exam results, special education needs assessments, and staff development reviews. Sensitive personal data is a separate category in its own right. This information relates to health, race, sexuality, religion, criminal offences, political opinions, and trades union membership. There are greater responsibilities for sensitive personal data. Processing data. Processing data means collecting, using, disclosing, retaining, and disposing of information. When processing data, you need to notify the ICO that you're processing personal data, tell us the purposes of your data processing, and make sure you update your registration when needed, such as when you install CCTV or introduce new technology like fingerprint scanning. Fair processing. You must give a fair processing notice to parents and pupils before or as soon as you obtain personal information. Tell parents, pupils and staff what is being collected and why. Tell them who you're going to share it with, and make sure you only do what you say you will do. Physical security. Schools have a responsibility to review the physical security of buildings, storage systems, and removable media. So you should keep paper documents in locked cupboards or filing cabinets. Never leave printed personal information on desks, tables, or notice boards where there's general access. Keep portable electronic devices secure, both on and off school premises. Keep them locked up when not in use, and keep an up-to-date log of all removable media. Develop a procedure that everyone follows. This is especially important when data is taken away from school premises. Electronic security. You must keep electronic devices safe, and information should only be viewed by people who need to view it. Make sure your staff choose strong passwords and encrypt personal devices and removable media. The ICO has decided that where thefts or losses occur and encryption software has not been used, enforcement action may follow, and you may receive a fine of up to £500,000. If members of staff use their own devices for school business, they must be secure. If they leave the school or sell their device, the school remains responsible, so make sure you delete the appropriate information. Be vigilant when transporting electronic devices, especially with smaller devices, such as memory sticks. When you no longer need electronic information, delete it properly. Setting a data protection policy. It's important to have a written policy and ensure staff follow it. The policy must set out responsibilities clearly. Written data protection policies help staff and governors to understand what they're responsible for, using language that's clear, practical, and jargon-free. Make a specific member of staff responsible for raising awareness of data protection issues, updating policies, and making sure they're adhered to. Subject access requests. Individuals have the right to access personal information the school holds about them. Parents can do this on behalf of pupils. You must recognize subject access requests and keep a log of them. You must answer these requests within 40 days, though you can charge £10 for doing so. If you need advice handling subject access requests, visit ico.org.uk for guidance. Sharing personal data. Every school should know what personal information they're allowed to share and with whom they can share it. You can legitimately share data with a number of bodies where necessary. These include health authorities, local government, other schools and educational bodies, social services, integrated services such as troubled families, and it's good practice to put in place a data sharing agreement. It's your responsibility to ensure that sharing is included in your fair processing notice. Keep information secure when you pass it on. Make sure it will be kept secure after you pass it on. And make sure that it's destroyed when it's no longer needed. Websites. Personal information includes photos, and you should tell people before publishing theirs on a website. You must restrict access where appropriate, using usernames and passwords. Metadata can sometimes be accessed once deleted, whilst the use of cookies attracts its own specific regulations. You can find out more on the ICO website. CCTV. Capturing images of identifiable people means that data protection principles apply to CCTV, and subject access requests can be made. You should notify staff, pupils, and visitors with signs indicating why you're using CCTV, and only keep the footage for a set period. Carefully consider locations. In most circumstances, it would not be appropriate to use CCTV in private areas, such as changing rooms and toilets. Photography. You can publish photos, but you should let people know that you're doing this. From a data processing perspective, you can allow parents to video school plays, but your school may have a policy on photography for child protection or other reasons. However, if you're planning on selling your recording to parents, then you need to comply with the data protection rules. Third-party processing. If you don't handle your own data processing, you need to be aware that the school is still responsible for data processing done by a third party. You need to get a written agreement covering security and ensure that they only act on your instructions, and be clear what you're signing and what the risks are. This includes cloud service providers, shredding companies, and organizations processing management information. The Freedom of Information Act 2000 stipulates that free and maintained schools and academies have an appropriate publication scheme and reply to requests for information in line with this legislation. Staff must also be informed what personal information you would provide in answer to an FOI request. Training. Every school ought to have a named member of staff with a working knowledge of information rights and records management, and who can raise awareness and organize sessions on inset days. Staff and governors should be trained so they understand the basics and recognize information rights issues. Key points. Is personal data on your website secure? Get professional advice if you're unsure. Are your buildings and storage systems secure? And are your portable devices encrypted? Do you always tell people why you're collecting their personal data and how you will handle and share it? Do you have a named member of staff responsible for information rights, and have they received training? Do you and your staff know what you're allowed to disclose, publish, or share? Check our website for more advice: ico.org.uk/education.